He totally wrecked the economy, doubled our national debt, more debt than every other president before him combined. He failed to stop the rise of ISIS. Billions of dollars to the Iranian mullahs that actually were chanting death to America. He ignored Putin's massive power grab, Crimea, Ukraine, neglected the simmering crisis in North Korea, and yeah, he's back. Just in time for the midterm elections, and he wants to tell you how to vote. Earlier today, Barack Hussein Obama delivered this so-called warning to America. Let's take a look.
I'm here today because this is one of those pivotal moments when every one of us, as citizens of the United States, need to determine just who it is that we are, just what it is that we stand for. And as a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president, but as a fellow citizen, I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
Now, what a sanctimonious one. As Reagan said, stay the course. There you have former President Obama. Well, he is actually right about one thing, because in 60 days, remember, 2016, it was about the forgotten men and women of this country. If you don't go out and vote, the consequences will be dire. The Trump agenda, they will stop in its tracks. Obama's friends in Congress that brought us to the brink of economic catastrophe and weakness and apology on the world stage, guess what? They want power back. They want to stop Trump, and they even want to impeach him. Now, we're going to have an important mini monologue about the midterms you can't afford to miss. That's later in the show, including more of Obama's hypocritical, self-righteous remarks that should make your blood boil. All right, but first, our investigation into the deep state rolls on tonight, and what we have now uncovered is now beginning to connect all of the dots. I think we now understand what the insurance policy is, worse than we originally thought. The foundation of this republic is now shaken to its core, the biggest abuse of power scandal in history. You've got a few unelected, high-ranking officials inside of our government trying and almost succeeding to alter the course of this country's history. At the very center of it all is the man whose name should be seared into your brain, Bruce Ohr. He is the face now of deep state corruption. And according to a damning investigative report from the Hill's John Solomon, in the summer of 2016, it was Ohr. Remember, he was the fourth highest ranking member of the DOJ, tampering with an ongoing FBI investigation into so-called Russia collusion. Why? To destroy then candidate Donald Trump. We'll break it down step by step, layer by layer. Here's what we know. 2016, Hillary Clinton wanted dirt on her opponent, Donald Trump. This is after she got her exoneration without an investigation. That's another part of the story. Her campaign in the DNC, well, they funneled money through a law firm that was called Perkins Coie that hires Fusion GPS, an op research firm. And then, of course, they attempted to literally hire a foreign national, which we thought was a bad thing for America. That was Christopher Steele, former MI6 spy. And don't forget, Nellie Ohr is the wife of DOJ official Bruce Ohr. She's working on the phony, what turned out to be Russian dossier, specifically Russian dirt that's on Donald Trump that nobody bothered to verify. Well, not so coincidentally, at the same time, the FBI was also paying Christopher Steele. They later fired him for lying and leaking in their Russia investigation. But now we know that Bruce Ohr had his dirty little fingers all over this. It was Bruce Ohr who pushed the FBI to use the Steele's campaign opposition research. Remember, he was a hater. He wanted to stop Trump. It was Bruce Ohr, meaning Steele. It was Ohr who spread Steele's phony dossier throughout the federal government to lie to the American people. It was Ohr who became a back channel. Remember, 70-plus contacts with Christopher Steele, even after he was fired by the FBI for leading anti-Trump, leaking it to the press in this country. That means to you. It was Bruce Ohr who knew that Steele was completely biased, desperate to stop Trump at all costs, and that Ohr wrote that Steele was passionate about Donald Trump never being president. Bruce Ohr knew the dossier was biased, would never hold up in court. He knew it was tainted. He knew it was not verified or corroborated. And yet he pushed that information into the grateful hands of anti-Trump agent Strzok and Lisa Page, and even the pit bull himself, Andrew Weissman. So you start with Hillary's campaign. They fund it. They funnel the money. It gets to a foreign spy, a foreign agent. He hates Trump. He gets phony Russian information. It's disseminated to you, the American people, and it gets worse from there. None of this should happen in America. You have a political campaign, the DOJ, working together, coordinating their efforts, literally to stop one candidate over another candidate. This is a humiliating smear on the country's system of justice. And it gets worse because the phony political, dirty Russian dossier that Hillary paid for, never verified, was used as the very basis for FISA warrants to spy on a Trump campaign associate. Let's see, Jim Comey signed off on the FISA request, Sally Yates, Dana Bonte, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew McCabe, all signed off on it. And tonight we can report that fired Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe is now facing a real serious criminal investigation. We know tonight a grand jury has been impaneled by federal prosecutors. Multiple witnesses have been summoned as the former deputy director is accused of using his position to advance his personal political interests. If justice is served, the McCabe investigation should just be the tip of the iceberg. Everyone who committed this fraud on the FISA court using unverified information to steal dossier by a Trump hater probably should be investigated and prosecuted. That would mean Comey and Yates and, yeah, the guy that did the last one, Rod Rosenstein, the guy that appointed Mueller, need to be held accountable. Multiple Republican lawmakers now demanding the president declassify and unredact parts of multiple FISA documents. On top of that, the 302s as it relates to Bruce Orr, Christopher Steele, and the Gang of Eight material. We're expecting the president could make this information available even as early as this weekend. Now, we're talking about everything that the Gang of Eight had. We know the specific pages of FISA that we had, apparently exculpatory information on Carter Page, and even somebody like Papadopoulos, who just was sentenced to 14 days in jail, $28 million later. This information must be released. You, the American people, have a right to know how a fraud was committed on a FISA court against the Trump campaign associate, not once but multiple times. They never verified any of this information. It turned out to be false. They purposely omitted information that would have had an impact on these judges. That's lying by omission. And what we've shown you each and every night right here on this program is what is a scary level of corruption that's only risen to the surface because Hillary didn't win in spite of all these efforts. If she won, we wouldn't know any of this. The deep state would be alive and well, working behind the scenes, corruptly, undermining your vote, what you want for your country. Biggest abuse of power scandal ever. Now, thankfully, the president he's breaking up some China in Washington. He's smashing the status quo. He's shattering all the establishment politics. The old rules are gone. That's why one such cowardly bureaucrat who claims to be a senior official in the Trump administration, acting out, New York Times op-ed, claiming to be a part of the so-called resistance. Really? Within our government, we have a resistance? Wow. We have sleeper cells within our government? This is a clear and present danger to the country. Now, in an interview on Fox and Friends, the president slammed this anonymous New York Times and the Times itself for publishing this nonsense. Take a look.
I think this audience would say that an attack on you is an attack on the people that voted for you.
Yeah.
Are you any closer to knowing who did it and what should be done if you find out who did it?
Well, number one, the Times should never have done that because really what they've done is virtually, it's treason. You can call it a lot of things.
That is beyond unacceptable. It's like a soft coup aided and abetted by the corrupt media in this country. Washington Post reporting sleeper cells within our own government. Think about that. Inside the administration. What, to undermine the commander-in-chief? Does this so-called senior official have a security clearance, access to top secret information, sources, methods, and the potentially compromised? Is he here, the president, talking about war and peace? And look at this particularly alarming part of the article. Look at this. We will do what we can to steer the administration in the right direction until one way or another, it's over. One way or another? What is one way or another? Well, voted out, impeached, die in office? Is that a veiled threat? Where's the Secret Service? Either way, given this person, alleged proximity to the president, it should be investigated and treated as a matter of national security. Now, perhaps the president should use the Obama model and track down the anonymous saboteur. According to reports, no previous president was more tough on leakers than Obama. I know, shocking. He subjected his own staff to lie detector tests, prosecuted multiple individuals, targeted members of the press who published leaked stories, including former Fox News reporter James Rosen, who was surveilled, even accused of being a co-conspirator because he dared to report with anonymous sources inside the Obama White House. That was Obama that did all that. Meanwhile, the super patriot who authored this op-ed in the New York Times, if you were truly working behind the scenes for the benefit of the country, why not stay behind the scenes? Why risk exposure in a very public way? Because this individual, unelected, is unaccountable. They think their truth is better than what the president ran on, what the American people voted for. And he's pushing their political agenda, he or her, whoever it happens to be, that they know better than we, the smelly Walmart people. And those opinions are more valued than your opinions. But ultimately, this is an attack on the presidency and the country. The country can get hurt in this process. The very reason why President Trump and the Secret Service now must do everything in their power to dismantle the deep state and find out whoever this is.